Hi folks, HR Funk here with another installment in my point shooting series. So far in this series I've done full-size duty type handguns and I've done smaller, more concealable handguns, but today's video is going to be my first foray into point shooting with long guns. And I have two semi-automatic carbines with me here today. One of them is the CMMG Mutant that I previously reviewed, chambered for the 7.62x39 cartridge. And also I've got something a little bit different. I have an enhanced 30 carbine. This is a modernized version of the World War II M1 30 carbine, and this is going to be my first experience shooting this rifle. And I want you to notice with both of these that they have optics. Here is the one that is on the 30 carbine, and it's covered, and the one that's on the Mutant is also covered. And I am not going to be removing these covers, nor will I be flipping up the sights on the Mutant here as I shoot my way through these drills, so there's no way that I'm going to be trying to sneak my way to looking through the sight or any other sort of shenanigans that people always seem to want to accuse me of when I record these videos. So this is going to be strictly point shooting, and I'm going to start out at the different distances. The first time I'm going to be shooting from the hip and just focusing on the target and firing 3 shots in a time limit of 3 seconds. The second time through, I'm going to be point firing from the shoulder, but again, I'm going to be looking over top of the carbine and focusing on the target. And just like as I've done in the past videos, I doubt that I'm going to take 3 seconds to fire 3 shots, but they have to be fired within that 3-second time limit. So this should be interesting, and I suspect that shooting from the waist or from the hip as I do this is probably not going to be tremendously precise. I don't expect to get too far from the target and be able to keep my shots on from here, but I think indexing to the shoulder is going to be a natural pointing quality for these long arms, and I do expect to get a little bit farther away when I'm shooting in that manner. But either way, let's find out. I'm going to get things set up, and we'll start out from a distance of 3 yards, and just as before, wherever each carbine, or whenever I experience my first miss, if it's a miss from the hip, then I'm not going to use that carbine from any further stages shooting from the hip. If I have a miss shooting it from the shoulder, then again, I'm not going to fire at any distance or any further distance from that position. But until I have a miss with each carbine from both, they will both stay in play, at least for the stages that, or the types of shooting that I haven't had a miss with. Once a carbine experiences a miss from each position, then it's going to be eliminated from the rest of the shooting. And we'll see which one of these I go farther away with, and how much difference there is between point shooting with the carbines as opposed to point shooting with the handguns. And here we go. First up will be the CMMG MK47 from a distance of 3 yards, shooting from the hip. And when you forget to put hearing protection in for your first 3 shots, you get a ringing in your ears. And also, one of those 3 shots from the hip is below the white scoring area of the target. So this one's going to be out for hip firing from this distance, but I'm also going to try the shoulder firing position and see how it does from there after I get some hearing protection. Alright, now while trying to preserve what little bit of hearing I have left, I'll fire 3 shots in 3 seconds from the shoulder. By the way, those last 3 shots were fired in 1.04 seconds, but as I said, one of those shots is just below the white scoring area. Now, on an actual human being, I think those would have been 3 pretty devastating shots, but as I've said before, since we're responsible for each and every shot we fire, and there has to be a measure of precision with any type of defensive shooting, anything that goes outside of that white silhouette is going to be considered a miss during these drills. So here again, 3 shots in 3 seconds from the shoulder. .17 seconds, and all 3 of those shots are good. And now we'll switch gears and try 3 shots in 3 seconds from 3 yards with the 30 carbine, starting first off from the hip firing position, and we'll see how it does. And now we'll switch gears and try 3 shots in 3 seconds from 3 yards with the 30 carbine, starting first off from the hip firing position, and we'll see how it does. And now we'll switch gears and try 3 shots in 3 seconds from 3 yards with the 30 carbine, starting first off from the hip firing position, and we'll see how it does. And I pulled one off to the left with the .30 carbine. So I did not expect that hip firing position to be very accurate, although I've got two shots that are nearly touching about where the belt buckle would be on the target. So I think with a handgun, when you index it to your body, it just seems like it's pointing a little bit better. With the long gun, the muzzle is so far away, you don't get a good sense for where it is. But when I bring it up to the high point shooting position, it seems to feel a whole lot more natural. So let's try that without any further delay, and we'll see how the .30 carbine does from that position. By the way, those three shots were in 1.23 seconds. And no problem whatsoever keeping those three in the chest, and that was 1.17 seconds, which I think was the exact same time as I fired with the MK47. So now I'll move back to 5 yards and we'll try it again. From now on, with both carbines, I'm only going to be shooting them from the shoulder position because both of them have now had a miss from the hip firing position. Okay, the .30 carbine is first up this time, firing from the shoulder from this distance of 5 yards. 3 shots in 3 seconds, focusing on the target. .16 seconds, those 3 shots are all good. And now the MK47 gets a try. Not bad at all for those 3. 1.09 seconds. And I think a little of what we're seeing here is just my familiarity with the AR-15 platform, which is essentially what this is. And that just seems to be coming up to my shoulder, lining up, and those shots are going pretty much right down the middle. And now the MK47 from a distance of 7 yards. .08 seconds, and all 3 of those shots are good. And now the enhanced .30 carbine from 7 yards. Oh! And I put one down in what would be his left thigh. I think that was the first shot. The other 2 shots are good, but the .30 carbine is now out from this distance of 7 yards. By the way, that was 1.06 seconds. I think before I completely retire the .30 carbine, what I'm going to do is try that same exact drill, but this time I'm going to use the red dot sight and see how much difference there is in the time that I can put 3 shots on target, and if I can keep them all on the target using the red dot. I just want to do a comparison and see how much difference there is using the red dot and doing just pure point shooting. Okay, 3 more shots with the .30 carbine from this distance of 7 yards. This time using the red dot. Let's see how much difference that makes both in time and accuracy. .2 seconds. So I added 0.14 seconds to my last time. So not really much appreciably. Those 3 shots are all good, and it really just gives an idea of how much the red dot adds in your ability to place those shots, and you're really not losing much in terms of the time that it takes you to get them off. By the way, folks, not only did all 3 of those shots count, but 2 of those are heart shots and 1 of them's in the lung, so they're also very effective shots fired, as I said, in 1.2 seconds, just over 1 second. And the MK47 is still in play, so I'm back to a distance of 10 yards. Let's try 3 shots from here and see how it does. And this is where it's going to end for the MK47. That was 3 shots in 1.14 seconds. Only 1 of those shots just barely caught the shoulder of the target. So I'm going to do the same thing that I just did with the .30 carbine. And I'm going to try this with the red dot. Actually, this is an EOTech that's on here. Okay, it's bright enough that I can see it now. Let's try 3 shots with that, and again, see how much difference it makes. Three good shots in 1.34 seconds. So again, just ever so slightly longer, not really enough difference in my opinion to make any difference whatsoever in terms of getting effective shots on target, but those were 3 effective shots as opposed to 2 misses and 1 grazing shot. So surprising results, folks. I made it back farther with both my full-size duty handguns and my smaller concealable CCW handguns than I did with either of the semi-auto carbines. And I really expected to go back at least as far as I did with the handguns, with the carbines, if not farther. And I'm not sure exactly why that is. Now, certainly there's a difference in the recoil impulse that I get from the carbines as opposed to the handguns. But I think maybe more than that, it's got something to do with that added barrel length, and it just seems to be a little easier to let that deviate off target when I'm focused on the target during shooting than occurs with the handguns. At least that's my best guess. And like I said, I am a little surprised by this. I expected to go back farther with both of these. I'm going to do a few more videos in this series. I want to try this with lever action carbines and see if they make any difference because of their handling and pointing characteristics as opposed to the semi-auto carbines. And I might even try 1 or 2 other types of firearms before I completely wrap this up. But this one surprises me more than most. Again, I really expected to go back farther than this. And you can see that using the red dot sight, and I'm sure if I'd have been using a flash sight picture again, I'd have been able to keep the shots all 3 on target without going over that 3-second time limit. So just a little mystifying here today. In any case, that's the video for today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, as always, make sure you forward those to me. Remember, if you purchase anything from Optics Planet, be sure to use my discount code, which is... And if you use that discount code, it's good for 5% off anything you purchase from Optics Planet. Also remember, WarbirdBunker.com is making t-shirts for the channel. If you go to WarbirdBunker.com, you can find my t-shirt that Nathan designed for me, along with all of his other patriotic and firearm-themed gear. And if you use my discount code HRFUNK4U, you'll get 10% off your purchase from WarbirdBunker.com. So until next time, folks, good shooting. Bye-bye.